I did go to both the Bolton semi-finals, ahead of the League Cup final. That was great. The particular one at Bolton, where I think they basically won it there. So that one stands out. Plus, of course, the League Cup final. The FA Cup quarter-final against Liverpool, where I think they gave them a really good game. I went to that with my dad, actually. Dad didn't go to too many games, but he went to that one with me. And so that was a special occasion. I'm trying to remember which other ones. I don't think I saw many of the Giant Killing games, but obviously followed them very closely. I had to correct the people that on local radio. We have a sort of central news service that sends us bulletins that we read out. And after the Sunderland game, with all that furore over the Clint Hill sending off and the substitution, a copy came up the following day saying that Sunderland were appealing because Tranmere finished the game with 11 players, and I had to point out to them, no, we had 11 players for about 6 seconds if you actually count it. I corrected them on that. So yeah, I remember all that being in the newsroom, waiting to hear what was going to happen with that. But didn't get to too many of those games. But as I say, the Bolton semi-finals I remember well. They were great occasions.
And I guess that's possibly the most difficult part of the job that many Tranmere fans in broadcasting do, is that sometimes you don't get to the big occasion, and that there will be many a game that you miss that you wish you could be at, and you do miss it, don't you? You miss being in the thick of it sometimes, despite how much you may love your job and being able to go and follow football everywhere.
On the other hand, I've saved an awful lot of money over the years.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, no, you're right. There's actually been 2 occasions when I've actually been at a Tranmere match and covered Coventry on the same day. One of them was a regrettable one this season when Coventry were playing Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup, and the powers that be, for reasons best known to themselves, decided that was going to kick off at 6 o'clock in the evening. And I saw that Tranmere were away at Walsall at 12:30. So I was able to go to that Walsall game, which was pretty hideous. Although actually they were in the game at 2-1, but anyway, it ended up very badly. The only good thing was I had to leave before the 5th goal. And the other one was the playoff final against Boreham Wood, where I can't remember the kickoff times, but Coventry were playing Notts County in the first leg of the League Two playoff semi-final that evening. I think it was sometime early evening. And I can't remember what time the game at Wembley kicked off, but I remember working out that if I got the train from Warwick Parkway, I could probably be at Wembley for about the first hour of the match. So I went there and had to leave sort of 15 minutes into the second half, and it was still 1-1. I was feeling a bit more optimistic than I had at half time. I thought they were certain to lose at half time, but the first 50 minutes of the second half weren't too bad. And I'm sort of at the train station trying to listen out for the roars or otherwise from the stadium. And then I'm on a train. A friend of mine who was at the game texted me what was going on. And we all know what happened. And I was back at the arena in good time to see Coventry get a slightly fortuitous 1-1 draw against Notts County, which proved to be pivotal in their history because they went and won the second leg. And I've sort of been on the up ever since.
That must have been absolutely awful, having to tear yourself away when the game is completely in the balance. Arguably the biggest game Tranmere have had since that Exeter one in '87, and you're just clock watching.
Yeah, and I probably left a little earlier than I had to, actually, because I was obviously I couldn't afford to risk not getting to the Coventry game in time. So it was quite difficult, but I knew I was going to do it in advance, so that made it slightly less stressful. And as I say, I did leave feeling a little bit more optimistic than I had. I thought they might just nick it in the end.
You wouldn't have been helped by the fact there were about 10 minutes of added time in the first half as well, so you might have seen a little bit more of the game.
That's right,
played out at a normal pace. The stewards must have looked at you like you were completely crazy for wanting them to open the exit gate after 60 minutes.
I think it took me a bit of time to find one to open the gate for me, to be honest. But yeah, there we are. I had to get a steward to open the gate at Walsall, and I wasn't too upset about that one, to be honest.
No.
Which I left earlier.
There must have been some really strange places you've been where you've been trying to follow a Tranmere match, given where your commentary career will have taken you. But also, I guess, following the games has become a lot easier now. I was saying to you before we hit record, I remember being at a Blackburn game for TalkSport a few years ago, and you were sitting 2 or 3 rows in front of me. And I only remember because I looked down and you were on the Tranmere Twitter feed, and I thought, why on
that
earth
can't
is
have been
anyone
me.
on a Tranmere Twitter feed?
That can't have been me. Can't possibly have been me. Wouldn't do a thing like that. No.
But it must be easier now to try and keep in touch than it was maybe in the 90s, when certainly there was no internet and there was no social media to follow. Maybe you had to wait until the final whistle.
Yeah, I remember when I was a student, I used to literally ring up the club at half time to find out what the score was. Just ring up the reception number and ask what the score was, because there was no other way. Yeah, as you say, you had to wait for the old teleprinter and grandstand to get the full-time score. Yeah, it is much easier. I remember just being mind-blowing that I could get it on my phone. I could get a text message telling me what the score was on my phone. But yeah, it has changed a heck of a lot, hasn't it? And you think back to the days of CFAT, and even CFAT's quite often the lower leagues. Originally, the lower leagues, they didn't update until half time and full time, and eventually they did start updating them as they went along. And watching games on CFAX is always quite good fun, because you'd have to wait till the page ticked round to your game again to see whether it had changed.